And we are live. See how fun that was?
Whoa.
You said bananas.
I love how
It's like the magic word.
I love how Jesse just looks like he's in the most profesh recording booth.
No.
And we're just sitting here in our rooms like...
My bed is right here. You guys can't see, but at the foot of my bed, there's a lot of laundry that hasn't been folded. This poster keeps falling down.
You know how it is, like washing laundry, putting laundry in the dryer, that I can do no problem. But folding laundry, that's going to take 10 to 14 business days.
Morph and I had an agreement that I would do all of the dishes and he would have to fold the laundry. Not even just do the laundry, just fold it.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Love it. We got a lot of people in the chat here.
Yeah.
All right.
So you mentioned the way things look. I was hoping it would be fixed by the end of the month to where the whole room would be like that, but I was talking to Joe. Because he brought up again how he turned his closet into his recording studio, and I was like, well, maybe I could talk to him, because if it's good enough to record audio for like video games and movies or TV shows and stuff, then it'll like definitely be good enough for the podcast without any echo or anything. So he told me some stuff, but it requires taking all this down and then putting something else up and then putting it back up.
So,
yeah.
Complicated.
But it'll be really cool when it's done. It'll just be a bit time consuming. Yeah. So it is the 150th episode of the Hylian Gamescast.
Yeah, that's wild. 150.
Wow.
How did that happen?
I don't even remember what episode I started on here at.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I feel like I've just always been here.
It does feel that way. It's better that way, though, because if you go watch like some of those really early episodes, it's a little awkward.
It is awkward.
We hadn't quite got our dynamic,
I didn't have a place to stream. I was streaming off of a laptop that I balanced on top of a bowl, and then there's that time that I was at my dad's place because I had nowhere to live, and I was streaming on the patio. Yeah.
But I was thinking even before you came on, it was just me and Jesse. That was Awkward City. Like those really early episodes. Like there were some really fun ones in here. Also, Emmett, don't spam the chat. But anyways, otherwise, I think we've, once we got sort of our dynamic figured out a little more, we got a little more comfortable. I think the show got better overall. 150 is good. It's good. It's pretty wild. It's like what, 4 years that we've been going, Jesse? Since we started this?
Do not know. I
think so.
I've known you guys for too long.
Yes. Too long.
Yikes.
So on this special episode of the Hylian Gamescast, we're gonna Thanos snap Kayla out of existence. Just
nice knowing y'all.
They said, no, I will not stop. All right.
I really can't remember what
You can't remember?
It had to have been in like the 20s or 30s.
It was, I think, overall pretty early on, yeah. Yeah. I think so.
Because I remember the whole thing was that I seen she worked at Nintendo. And we were talking to different people from Nintendo. And I was like, hey, this person at Nintendo apparently knows who Daniel is.
The only person who knows who I am. Yes. Good times.
Like when I worked at Nintendo, like it was so long ago, I'd have to look at my resume because that's the only way that I know when I started.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And look at us now, one big sad family.
Facts.
Alright, so today we're going to be doing a quick episode, maybe about an hour. We have 2 or 3 topics that we're going to go through. We aren't going to be doing the Triforce trivia thing or yeah, I guess that's it. We're just skipping it, but we will be doing the mailbag at the end. But we only have a couple of news stories. The first, talking about the new Kirby trailer and details that they put out, and then some stuff about some grass, and the people are making steps in the right direction to have an actual multiplayer Breath of the Wild mod, which is kind of cool and unexpected. So, yeah, Daniel, have you seen this new Kirby trailer? Do you know who Kirby is?
Yeah. Well, Kirby
Why do you hate Kirby?
Kirby is Masahiro Sakurai's firstborn child.
Yes.
Yes.
He is the defender of the Smash Bros.
That's right. That's right. He is the only one to survive the Smash Bros. Apocalypse.
Yes.
Kayla, you look like you have something important to announce.
I thought she was doing a superhero pose.
You're doing this pose, like...
So, I just had a really fun realization that I'm actually stupid. So,
oh, okay.
I saw that this trailer was on, like, it was posted on the Nintendo Twitter yesterday, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Are they re-releasing an old game just because of the thumbnail? So I didn't click on it. And then you guys were talking about the new trailer and new details, and I was like, wait, what? So I quickly looked it up on YouTube to see that it's coming out relatively soon.
Yeah, it was March 25th or something?
March 25th?
25th. It was March, which it really says to me that we're not getting Breath of the Wild in March. Or not, Breath of the Wild 2. Because they're not going to put those two games so close to each other.
Yeah, is it Splatoon 3 summer game?
Sorry, I launched us right into that first topic because
it's good. Launch us. But what did you think of the trailer?
Well, I didn't actually watch it. I honestly just skipped right through it.
For shame.
I was too excited. It looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
It feels very Mario Odyssey-esque.
Yeah. This is one of those cases where I think it's the opposite of Pokemon Legends. It's where the more I see of this Kirby game, the more excited for it I am really getting. I really think I'm getting kind of like psyched up for it. I'm not usually the kind to get excited over Kirby, if that makes sense. Like, Kirby's just not my jam in general. Like, it's not no dislike, but just like I've been very neutral to Kirby overall. I've played some of the games, I've enjoyed them, but never really loved them. But this game looks like it's gonna be like really good, so I'm excited for it.
So a quick description from Game Informer. I guess this quote comes from Nintendo for the synopsis. Join Kirby in an unforgettable journey on a delightful 3D platforming adventure. Explore in 3D stages as you discover a mysterious world and hell enemies to gain and copy abilities like the new Drill and Ranger. Use these skills to save the kidnapped 𝗿𝗏𝗃 from the Beast Pack, which is the greatest sentence I've said this entire year. You can also bring along a second player to control Bandana 𝗿𝗏𝗃 and take on the Forgotten World. So yeah, March 25th. Yeah, co-op. I wonder if it'll end up some way hoping to be online co-op, or does it just say co-op?
It might be like Odyssey's co-op where you kind of like pass the Joy-Con co-op.
Well,
you know,
like, looking at just briefly of what I've seen of the trailer, it looks very similar to like how the Mario 3D World ended up playing. Like, that's kind of the vibe that I got from it. So I'm hoping that you'd be able to, you know, tune in as maybe one of the other side characters, but I'm not sure.
Was the other Kirby Switch games online multiplayer?
No.
I've never tried playing games online with anyone other than Bergerson.
Star Allies, I don't think was.
I don't think so.
Was there other Kirby games on Switch other than Star Allies? There was no, that was a 3DS game. It was the like robot one.
Yeah.
The robot one. I don't remember what it's called. The one where Kirby has like a mech suit for some reason.
Kirby.
But that was 3DS, so probably not.
Natsu's saying in the chat that part of the trailer does say a Nintendo Switch Online subscription is needed for online play.
Oh.
So that gives me a little bit of hope. that it's not just going to be one of those, you know, like, here, you get
Who
to be
said
like
that?
the little star on the screen.
Right.
Who'd you say said that?
Natsu.
Natsu.
He doesn't know anything.
Natsu's a reliable human.
I trust Natsu.
I trust Natsu. Yeah. But actually, you know, if it does have online co-op, then that might be a fun game to stream. Just putting that out there. But I mean, I've been a little underwhelmed with Kirby co-op in the past, even just couch co-op, because yeah, usually it is just like whatever random side character. That's 2-player 2 is like whatever reject power-up Kirby doesn't want to have, you can just make that the side character.
Exactly it, though. It's always the reject power-up, and then it's basically like they die, and to get your partner back, you just have to get another power-up and just reject it, and then you have your second player again.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not recognized as their own entity, which kind of sucks.
But if it's the 𝗏𝗏𝗃, the bandana 𝗏𝗏𝗃, I think he's been in previous Kirby games as well, and he's more of a he's not like a rando character then, you know what I mean? He's like a legacy character, if you will, even though it's like it's like literally a 𝗏𝗏𝗃 wearing a bandana with a spear. He's no Meta Knight, is all I'm saying.
So advanced.
He's no Meta Knight. But yeah,
Wait.
so it's
So there's a weird thing from this website, 𝗙𝗵𝗲 says, unfortunately, there is not an online multiplayer option for the game, nor are there couch co-op options beyond the campaign. Okay.
Okay. Also,
so
we got super
beyond
chat.
the campaign. Yeah. Hi.
Beyond the campaign. Interesting. Super chat from Taker610, $2 says, the foxes are evil, but they're so cute. Okay, so I have 2 thoughts about the foxes. First of all, their fur looks so hyper detailed, and then it looks like they just drew the eyes on with a marker over top. It confuses me a little bit, but I do agree they're really cute. But that's the thing with Kirby games, I find, is that like often the enemies are kind of adorable, and I almost feel a little bad for killing them. just putting that out there. You guys look like you're so intently focused here. Also, hi Nate. Welcome to the chat.
Oh, Nate.
What's going on? What's going on, friend?
I'm trying to figure out if Nintendo's trolling us, and they're just like, you need Nintendo Online service so you can download updates.
It might just be like some
It's
rando
in the
feature.
fine print at 0.49 on the trailer.
But it could be online co-op, or it could be something as simple as like a message board thing, like Wind Waker's bottles, or you know, something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like it could be something really silly. That's not co-op at all.
There was another Kirby game on Switch, like Fighters or something.
Oh, I missed that one then.
And then Kirby's... No, that's on 3DS. Yeah, there's like a Smash Bros. Style Kirby. Kirby game.
Oh, you know what? I think I vaguely remember something about that.
I just know Kirby Star Allies is Layla's favorite game.
I was gonna say, if Nintendo didn't give it to me for free and made me demo it, then I don't remember it.
Like, I had fun with Star Allies. I played it with co-op with my son. We had a good time with it. But, like, it's not as great, super fun co-op experience like Mario 3D World was. Where that was just, like, one of my favorite co-op experiences ever. Like, Star Allies is very much like a kind of a time sink. Like, you just kill some time, kill a couple hours. You know what I mean? Like, it's... But I never felt, like, so super compelled to, like, I gotta jump back into Kirby, you know? If that makes sense. So, yeah.
Because, like, that Kirby game didn't really build, like, it built, like, a little bit of a story and, like, a little bit of a world, but not enough to get super invested in.
And Star Allies, I mean, I think we talked about this last week too, but you weren't here, Kayla. But I felt like in a lot of ways Star Allies played it a little too safe. Like there wasn't really much new going on with it, other than like some of the really scripted sequences. But for the most part, it was like pretty generic Kirby. Whereas this actually seems like a huge shakeup for Kirby. Like this actually feels like something new and bold and exciting. which is awesome because I don't think there's been much new, exciting, and bold of Kirby since like Air Ride on the GameCube. I think that was the last like really original Kirby game. So
yeah, I don't think I've seen a single person correctly guess that it was Kirby before Kirby actually showed up in the trailer.
Yeah, that's right. When we saw it at E3, it was like, what is this game? What is this?
I thought it was a weird
no one knew.
Thing.
I thought it was like, I saw like the palm trees and stuff, and I was like, I thought Donkey Kong at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, weren't we also expecting like a Donkey Kong game as well?
Yeah. There were Donkey Kong like 40th anniversary rumors that never came to be.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Nintendo had the audacity to wish Kirby a happy anniversary.
Everyone's so upset about the Zelda thing.
It was just right there, like a single tweet with the picture, happy 35th
it was like,
to Kirby or something like that, and I'm like, good for you.
30th, yeah. What's funny about that is people were like, I wish you would have acknowledged Zelda's 35th, and I'm like, well, Kirby didn't get a Game & Watch and a HD re-release of an old game. Like, they literally, Nintendo just tweeted happy anniversary and gave you a wallpaper. Like, that's not the same thing.
Yeah, they gave you a JPEG.
Yeah, you got a not even a PNG. They gave you a JPEG.
It's blurry, your little cousin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting. I think it'll be really fun when it comes out. I'm looking forward to it. But I was saying, like, it's kind of the opposite of Legends Arceus, or Arceus. I don't know how you want to say it. I always say Arceus, but...
Arceus.
But I feel like I'm feeling cautiously optimistic about Legends. I'm just going to say Legends. Because, like, in the opposite way as Kirby, the more I see of Kirby, the more excited I get about it. Kind of the more I've been seeing of Pokemon Legends, the more like trepidation I'm feeling about it. I think I'm still gonna get it. I think I'm still cautiously optimistic about it. But there's a lot of things that just feel like, I think Pokemon Company could do better if they really wanted to put in the effort for it. Do you know what I mean?
I 100% agree.
Yeah, and I think there's some really great ideas for like laying the groundwork, this foundation for Pokemon, like shaking it up with more. It's not even truly open world though, but more open world instead of really linear routes like old Pokemon games, and having the battles take place like in the world like that in real time. Like there's a lot of great ideas that I think Pokemon could really benefit from, and but it just feels like considering Breath of the Wild is almost 5 years old, I shouldn't look at a game that's that old, I say in air quotes, and be like, wow, but this was so much like better executed for like a franchise shakeup like that. You know what I mean? And now Kirby, it's like this is the franchise shakeup for Kirby, and it's gonna be awesome. And this is the franchise shakeup for Pokemon, and I'm feeling like really like I keep going back and forth in my head about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like I'm kind of biased because like I've been watching Acoustic Harmonia. He does a lot of like video game essays, and he talks about pros and cons of video games, and he really talks about how there are all of these like excuses that it feels like the Pokemon Company is making just to be lazy and skimp out on small details for their games. And so that's kind of how I feel about going into Pokemon games. Like I didn't get the new Pearl or Diamond remakes because I again felt like it was one of those things that they're just pushing out for money. So, love Nintendo. Really, really, really want to play like Pokemon. Love Pokemon, but again, cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. I really liked like Sword and Shield, for example, and I think that I'm not too worried about the whole fidelity of things as long as the gameplay and the mechanics of the game are really fun and engaging. But that's the thing is with Legends, I feel like watching some of the trailers and stuff is, I feel like the ideas are there. There are going to be fun, engaging mechanics, but there's just like too much. I don't want to say emptiness in between, but like kind of that. You know what I mean?
So, you're saying those trees don't keep you awake at night?
They don't. I'm not bothered by the tree.
No, you know why they looked weird? is because they are the I had his name in my head. That one Pokemon that imitates people. It looks like a tree.
Oh, was it 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏?
Yeah. None of them are trees. They're all just 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗀s.
They're all 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏s?
Yeah.
Oh no, we're gonna use chop on every tree to get every tree is 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 confirmed.
So
yeah, I don't know. I just yeah. Sorry, Jesse, go on.
No, I was gonna fill Chubes in on the very important conversation that she missed. Daniel confirmed the trees in the Pokemon games do not keep him awake at night.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's a scarier tree than the 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. There's like that Ent. That big black scary tree.
I don't know this one, but it sounds terrifying.
What the hell is it? What's its name? 1 second.
It's kind of sad, us three trying to talk about Pokemon.
We're not Pokemon fans.
Yeah.
I'm just the most casual Pokemon player ever.
It's like this big scary tree. No, that's the legendary Pokemon. No, not that one.
No, I'm really confused.
The trivia has betrayed me.
But I feel like for the Diamond and Pearl remakes, a lot of the driving force for that was definitely nostalgia. And I just unfortunately don't have the nostalgia for a lot of the older Pokemon games, other than like Gen 1. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trevenant. Sorry, my cat is attacking the door. That's why I got up, because I went to let her in, and then she was nowhere to be seen.
Ghost type cat Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Trevenant. Matt actually beat you to it in the chat.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But yeah.
What was I gonna say?
Jesse's going crazy.
Don't know.
No, with I wasn't able to find anything that clarifies with Kirby, but all I can say with it is that if it is actual online multiplayer, that's great. If it's not, and it's something just like leaderboards or whatever, that sucks. But I hope they would eventually update it to have online multiplayer, like they did that with the Mario Party thing. Did they give it real multiplayer?
Super Mario.
And what was the other? Wasn't there another game they did that with?
Well, the N64 games that were on NSO, like Mario Kart 64, you can do online right now. But actually, if it's leaderboards, that makes me think of Odyssey again. Actually, had the only like online play they had was like the hide and seek thing with Luigi, and leaderboards for like some of the mini games. Right? I think that was it. Otherwise, you could do couch co-op with Cappy as player 2, and I hated that.
Me too.
I did not like that. It was very jank. It was very, very jank.
I wonder what was Bowser's Fury's online thing.
Bowser's Fury did not have online play, but the 3D World part of that release did, and that was
But it
great.
Did have co-op?
It did have co-op.
Yeah, Daniel and I streamed it.
That's so weird. It's like, hey, we're putting these two games together. They're both Mario. Right. They both have multiplayer, but only one's online.
Yeah, but for Bowser's Fury, like it's very tailored. Like the format of that game is very tailored to being like a single player experience. It definitely feels like a single player game with sort of multiplayer tacked on with Bowser Jr., right? Whereas 3D World, I don't know, just the way that it's designed, it felt like they'd had multiplayer in mind from the start when designing that game. So it makes some sense to me.
Yeah.
Plus 3D World is the longer portion of that release, right? You probably finish Bowser's Fury in less than 10 hours. And
Bowser's Fury was definitely like hey, this is something that we think is fun.
So like it feels like a test, like a little like field test for something to come. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So, I loved it though. I loved Bowser's Fury. I finished 100% like twice in the first month after when it came out. It was great. Loved it.
to go along with all of the Breath of the Wild comparisons, a lot of articles and stuff they keep referring to it with Kirby's post-apocalyptic Switch adventure, which is also what Breath of the Wild is based off of. But just due to the nature of Kirby, I can't imagine anything depressing or tragic happening. Like maybe someone loses a lollipop. But
I mean,
like,
Nintendo makes more post-apocalyptic games than I think people maybe would guess. Like Splatoon is basically post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Now this Kirby game, Pikmin is pretty much post-apocalyptic Earth, right? Which is just bonkers, right? So it's yeah, I mean, and then you got Breath of the Wild is pretty much a post-apocalyptic Hyrule, right?
Should we mosey on to our next news topic?
Yeah, I mean, it's Kirby. We tried.
It's Kirby. It looks good.
We tried talking about Kirby, and we ended up talking about Mario and Pokemon. So that's all that matters.
Kirby
probably
looked
gonna
good.
Get it. It'll be fun.
Yes.
Yeah. So the next thing is so there's an interview with the developers from Age of Calamity, and I don't know if this is the greatest troll from them or Nintendo, or if they were being serious. And from a technical standpoint, I kind of know what they're talking about because, anyways, so the story is in an interview they were talking about the difficulties in making the game and stuff like that, and they said one of the most difficult things that took them like half of the development time was perfecting the grass to make it look and feel and seem like it did in Breath of the Wild. But I still can't imagine it taking like most of the team half of that development time to just figure out the grass like that.
It's funny, but like when you go into the interview, like the source of it, one person mentions the grass and everyone jumps in on it. So like it was definitely something that was notorious in the development team because everyone was like, "Oh, the grass!" Like and the fact. For those who don't know what it was they were trying to replicate the grass for Breath of the Wild. They weren't using the same game engine, right? But they were having a lot of trouble replicating it in Age of Calamity. And I guess in a way that kind of goes to show just how like talented and experienced a developer Nintendo is, that something as simple as the grass they had a hard time replicating.
Yeah. So
but it makes sense because in Breath of the Wild, I was thinking about this afterward. Read the article, like, what the heck, the grass, really? But I was thinking about this, in a lot of games with grass, the grass kind of will sway in the wind or whatever, or just be static, but you'll just like walk through the grass and you basically just clip through it, right? You look at other games like even Horizon, or I don't know what other games, lots of games with grass, but you basically just clip through the grass, right? But with Breath of the Wild, when you like walk through tall grass, the grass like parts, like it moves based on how you're moving through it.
And it gets
you don't just clip through the grass.
And shiny when it rains and stuff too.
Yeah. And pretty much I can't really think of many other games that do that. So which is weird to think of. Yeah. So it's good grass.
We went from trees to grass. Exciting.
Yes.
Exciting details. No, so the obviously it's funny to laugh about because they're just talking about grass being difficult, but from a technical standpoint, I don't know what engine they used for Age of Calamity. Obviously they reused the models and other assets, villages and stuff like that, and they probably even reused the same models for the grass as Breath of the Wild, but because it's a different engine, it'll behave differently. And Nintendo had a very, very customized version of the Havoc engine for all of its physics, which is why the grass would bend and move out of the way and react the way that it would. So I can imagine trying to emulate that would be really difficult if you're using a different engine. So I can kind of see, but I would also be like, we can either say it's good enough, or we can spend 6 months grueling over how the grass bends.
It must have been important to them because they're basically, you know, making a game that was to, you know, stand up to Breath of the Wild, and also something that, you know, was supposed to be like a prequel to. So of course they had this huge challenge ahead of them, and they probably, like, you know, one, honored to be able to do it, and two, wanted to, you know, rise to the occasion and show, hey, you know what? If we put our minds to it, we can do it too. So I think that's kind of a compliment to them, like, to them. It sucks that they spent so long on it, but
yeah, true. And there's a lot of grass, and especially like even that opening level they just Calamity. They set it like right in Hyrule Fields, like for their opening stage. Yeah, so it's
just a funny detail because I don't think that's something that I probably would have like picked up on my own. I don't think I ever stopped to go, oh, look at the way the grass moves.
Right, you wouldn't think of it, right? Yeah. Like, totally not.
Yeah, it's totally one of those things. I was reading, I was trying to look up details for a different video, but there's an interview where 𝗏𝗏 was talking about how much difficulty he personally had. It was like him and a few other people were, when they were remaking Wind Waker HD, he wanted the water in the ocean to be a bit more realistic. So in the GameCube version, the sun would hit the water, and then when it got darker, it would just shift colors, and it would just be a sudden change. But in Wind Waker HD, they wanted it to naturally go from one color to another, like the light's actually spreading across the water. And he said he spent so much time trying to get it as perfect as he could. And it's like, that's just one of the other things that, like, I didn't even notice. So it's like, yeah, people like spend so much time and stressed out trying to get something as perfect as grass. And then there's what was the other one? There's the tree that people were really mad about, and then Spider-Man had the puddle that people were complaining about.
The puddles, yeah, that's right. In Spider-Man for PS4, they removed some puddles, and people got mad about it because they're like like downgrading the game, and it's like it's literally a puddle. They took out a puddle.
Idea that puddles added so much quality of life to a game.
And I think it was because like it was like too many visual effects, so to get the game to run smoother, they took out a few puddles. But like of all the things to get upset about.
That's so funny. It's so hard to do anything nowadays without someone taking like a really like, you know, a microscope and being like, oh yeah, like you did that wrong, or like a magnifying glass. Sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that no one complained about the grass, I guess it passed.
There you go.
Taker in the chat gives a $2 super chat. It says Breath of the Wild would have released fall 2015 if not for the grass.
I think in actuality it was like physics stuff, but like probably not far off, honestly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like it's all the minor details and stuff. The devil's in the details. But that's why we call it the Nintendo polish, right? Like, and games have like that Nintendo polish. You know, it's that attention to detail.
Sorry, what? Continue. Ignore me.
I've been just to like somewhat sidetrack. I was playing. I got Spider-Man Miles Morales for Christmas, and I've been playing through that. Really good game. I really enjoyed the first Spider-Man game on PS4, so I really was looking forward to Miles Morales. And I was playing it and thinking about like how fluid the motions and stuff are. And I'm like, you know what? Not a lot of PlayStation games feel this like fluid and awesome. And I was like, this feels like Nintendo polish. And I was like, well, I was like, why is that the first thing to come into my head? That like, wow, controlling this character feels good. It's like Nintendo. But I was like, wait, but that's totally how it is. A lot of other companies, the games, they characters feel really stiff or sluggish, and I think that's just really where Nintendo shines. Is they really just put a lot of care into that attention to detail with just like the little things, how the movement feels, the grass, you know, whatever you want to call it. So, yeah. That's all. Sorry, just to deviate there. It was just like a weird thought I had the other day. So,
all right, friends, how much more do you guys have to say about grass?
Yeah. Grass is green.
Oh wow!
Wow. It's just funny that this was a news story, even, but like a bunch of websites jumped on this one, right?
Imagine someone had to write an article about this. They're like, "Oh, great, you're gonna write about grass today."
Okay, grass time.
I happen to be an expert on the subject.
Oh, do you?
Do you? Oh, I don't have a link for it. I was gonna say, do you want to take the next one, Daniel? But
who?
I have it here.
What? What is it?
No, you go ahead.
It's the Breath of the Wild multiplayer mod. All right. Which website we're gonna go with?
Yeah, Jesse.
There's so many.
I'll go with Zelda Dungeon. Good old Zelda Dungeon. So, a couple of years ago, there was maybe there was 4 images that someone released where it was like a Link standing beside another Link, and it was a community thing saying that they were trying to work on a Breath of the Wild multiplayer mod, and it ended up being a prank or a fake, or maybe they had the intentions to do it, but they faked the photos to just give an example, and they planned on doing it, but then they never ended up, whatever the reason was, it just ended up not being a real thing. And not too long ago, someone who was a Twitch YouTube streamer, I don't remember his name, posted.
𝗵𝘃𝗀. He offered $10,000 to someone that could do a fully functional multiplayer mod that would basically that he wanted before Breath of the Wild 2.
Now, just as a side note about this, I'm not going to say who because I don't want to like cause any blood, but we talked to a modder that we're chummy with about this actually when it came out, because we're like, what do you think about this? I think both, actually I didn't, but I think both of you guys separately approached this modder about that, and in chats that I was also in, so I saw both. I was like part of both conversations, but like separately. But just to ask like what his take on it was, and basically he was like, 𝗵𝘃𝗀 should stay away from the modding community because like the amount of effort, the amount of work to make this possible, $10,000 would be like a pittance. It would be, you're talking like thousands of hours of labor for like.
Exactly. You would have to quit your full-time job and go do this and not even make enough money to support yourself. It would take more than one person to help mod. $10,000 would not cut it.
Yeah. And all the news outlets jumped on it basically being like, wow, this guy's a saint being willing to throw all this money at some guy or whatever. It's just, people really ran with it when it's kind of a lowball offer, really, if you think about it.
That's the backstory about the 𝗵𝘃𝗀 thing. Go on,
Jesse.
And the guy who mentioned it, he did have experience in taking other Zelda games and making them have online multiplayer, and Mario as well. So he kind of understood the whole process. So
definitely more than I ever will.
Yeah.
So yes.
Which. Yeah, I guess that's all the backstory and everything. The only thing I guess that's left is a dude, 𝗵𝘃𝗃, and 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗏. I don't know how to pronounce it. I apologize. Apparently took up the offer and are now trying to do it. They had a early version of a video that I watched where they had interactions go down on screen together, but you couldn't see the other person's characters on the screen. And now they updated it, and they have the characters on screen, but the other people's characters run at like 2 frames per second, because they're just like, it looks like they have lag, which it has nothing to do with the internet. It's just the whole troubleshooting and trying to get everything going perfect, which was in the Ocarina of Time online multiplayer thing that we mentioned a second ago. At first, there was issues with it to where the character would appear and they would move perfectly, but like if you picked up a rock, you would see the other Link picking up a rock or picking up something, but the rock would still be on the ground. And then it took, I forget how long, just to code it correctly so that if he picked something up in his game or he attacked an enemy, you would see it being attacked in your game and you would see it being picked up in his. Mm-hmm. So it was like a weird mishmash of different things, and I imagine with Breath of the Wild it's a lot more complicated, but there seems to be more people working on the Breath of the Wild thing. So,
well, not even that, like, it sounds like they wanted to fully realize like separate inventory for this other Link as well.
Oof.
Which I'm surprised that anyone took up this offer, and I hope that they asked Point Crow for a lot more money.
Yeah, for sure.
Point Crow is a big he's a big content creator, and I think that if he's going to make that request, he can absolutely afford to, you know, spend a little bit extra money on it, especially if only 2 modders are helping.
Mm-hmm.
Not to diss on Point Crow either, by the way. I love Point Crow. I watch his streams all the time. Point Crow is actually amazing. The way that he plays a lot of modded Breath of the Wild. He breaks the games in ways that I've never seen before. His speed runs are immaculate. Like, Point Crow is very entertaining to watch. Do you suggest?
She says so. I find him a little obnoxious for my taste, but then again, and I'm friends with you, so.
Yeah.
But you know, that's fine. To each their own.
Someone else that's fun as well as Small Ant.
This version of the trailer, it says they can interact with certain overworld objects like chests, but they can't attack enemies together.
Oh, there's half the fun.
And there's other syncing issues as well. So I guess you basically just see like the ghost of a person just like teleporting on your screen.
More parallel play than actual multiplayer then.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like there's some things I have to wonder how it would work, like going to a flurry rush or the bullet time stuff.
Yeah,
when you use your bow. Everyone. Does it slow down for everyone then, or does one person slow down like the air while everything else moves normally? Like what happens then? You know, is it a huge advantage where everything slows down except for all the players, and then you can just ambush a bunch of bokos?
I imagine if Nintendo did do it, it would be a thing to where, unless you both did it at the exact same time, then if it didn't bring the second player into the flurry rush, then they would just continue moving in slow motion like the enemies do.
I don't even know if it would be slow motion. I don't know. I imagine it as like you have like the adrenaline, and so like things are moving slower for you, so that way you can focus. Like I imagine other Link would just be like, "Wow, look at that guy! He's so cool! Wow."
Fair enough.
Totally wrong, but
yeah, maybe, or maybe you just take out bullet time altogether then, just for the sake of it. No bullet time for anybody.
Age of Calamity didn't have anything like that for its multiplayer, did it?
No, like Flurry Rush still exists, but it doesn't slow down time like it does in Breath of the Wild, and there's no bullet time at all for Link's bow, which is funny because then what happens is in Age of Calamity, Link just fires his bow like 10 times really fast, and I always think that that's what it must be looking like, or that's what it looks like from like an enemy's perspective in Breath of the Wild, because for us it's all slowed down, so Link's shooting at what looks like normal speed, but if you think about that going at normal speed, it must be like super fast. So yeah, it's a bit of a running joke I have with myself. That's just how it looks for everyone else.
Gosh,
jokes are good. That's everything for the news.
Yeah, that's our news.
Cool. We got that in 45 minutes.
Sorry, what? You two are both talking over each other.
Well,
oops.
Sounds right.
I think Bergerson was counting.
Well, I was just saying, it's a slow news week, obviously, because what do we have to talk about? Trees and grass. And that was like half an hour talking about grass.
Woo.
Good for you, Daniel. Just
no news week.
Counting.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I did it. I'm so proud.
What a wild time, guys. I've been sitting in front of my webcam for over 4 hours today.
Yeah, that's just wild. So excited to do the podcast.
Yeah.
Just been sitting there all day. We're just waiting to start.
Just waiting. Just twiddling my thumbs.
Watching. Learning.
wearing different hats.
I brought my hat. I should have put it on.
I was doing a sim stream today, and I have it that if someone uses like 1,000 points or whatever, then I'll put on a random hat, and then if someone else uses it, then I switch hats.
But the best use of channel points is treats for your cat.
She's so cute. Yeah. Now I'm hiding the treats in my underwear drawer. It was the closest place to hide them from her.
Well, all right then.
Yeah, so if you have any questions that you would like us to answer on the Zelda mailbag, you can join our Discord and post them there. We'll collect them, put them all together on our Zelda mailbag list. And if you want to guarantee your question gets answered, then you can become a Patreon supporter, like all these amazing people did. ZAIN, FRAN, WIGGLYWIGGLE, NORNARB, David, SuperNX64, Gus, Jesse, 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃, 𝗏𝗶𝗃𝗀𝗃, Natsu, BKRS7, Justin, Monica, Larulian, 𝗟𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃, Rusty, Mr. MONOCLED, Metroid, ZOEY, Ashton, Jin, Blargnar, Chad, SOBERX, and Henry. Thank you all. And Daniel.
Jesse.
About a week ago, you crushed my dreams in Smash Bros.
Oh, it's gonna get worse for you,
but
Jesse.
It's okay. Redemption is coming. And I've been practicing a little. There's been no like great Rocky montages or anything, but I have been practicing. I know how to do a grab now.
You didn't know how to grab?
The most powerful Smash player.
So on the
You didn't know how to grab, Jesse?
It had been so long since I played. I forgot you could roll.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
I thought Link had the hook shot for some reason. I remembered on the first match that he had the Sheikah bombs and not real bombs, which are useless. Because it's like, not only do you have to kind of guess where they're going to be at, but then you have to actually remember to explode them. Whereas before you can just throw the bombs and they do their thing.
That's why I would like that. You just summed up why I play as Young Link in Smash instead of Link, because Young Link has not remote bombs and the hook shot. So he's
clearly you need to change the Link that you're playing.
He's a little faster too.
Yeah.
Also, anytime I lose as Young Link, I can criticize people for killing a child. Be like, he was just a kid. How could you do this? So it's just a fun time. It's a normal
Unrelated,
fun time.
But I've been really into playing Byleth lately because Byleth packs a punch if you can hit with her. She's slow though. She's very slow. Are we picking questions? Whose question?
Yeah, I was going to...
Your question?
Give the dates first. First, on the 24th, Sean, who we've had on the channel before, and he actually was nice enough to play Smash Bros. With us in a live stream a while back. But on the 24th, Sean's coming back on, and I don't know how long he's going to be playing, but he and I are going to be doing a best of 10, and I assume he'll stay on after for a little while to play against some other people. So if you think you have a chance, please go for it. I know I probably am not going to win a single round because no one even came close the last time, and we played against him for like 3 hours straight. And then on the 27th, we were close to getting a WarioWare stream, which I was excited for because of Tubes. But Joe ended up going with Smash Brothers as well. So that'll be on the 27th. So if you want to hang out with us on the live stream, come do that. It'll be great. And Daniel won't be there. He's not invited. So that'll be cool too.
Just crush Jesse at Smash enough and then you stop getting invited to things.
Yeah. No, so the first question comes from the one and only Natsu. It says, if one dungeon from a previous game could return in Breath of the Wild 2, what dungeon would you want it to be? Do you think he means if a specific, like that exact dungeon returned, or that themed dungeon? Like there's a bunch of fire temple themed areas.
Well, that's chat right now. So which do you think you mean, Natsu? You can just throw it in the chat here, since it was your question.
Because a link between...
I would guess that Natsu doesn't mean like a fire temple or something. I think probably more specifically.
Yeah, I would guess that as well. Like not like just any fire temple, but like a specific fire temple.
I want you all to know that my answer is not Stone Tower Temple.
I see how it is.
I can't even say Stone Tower without the stupid song getting stuck in my head.
What about Stone Tower Pimple?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Rabbit in the chat says water dungeon, and I would... My first thought is water-themed dungeon as well, because you would think it would automatically mean that you have underwater exploration of some kind, but then I remember Wind Waker, and there were dungeons in that game where you had to change the water level and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, sorry, Natsu in the chat just says that specific dungeon.
Okay.
So just to clarify, the guess was correct. So yes, go on now, please.
But there's a like water temple style dungeon in Wind Waker that involved no underwater exploration. So
which one are you thinking of?
Is it Tower of the Gods where you go in on the boat dude?
Yeah, Tower of the Gods. You do. Yes. Okay. Though you don't really alter it yourself, it just automatically down. But yeah, I see what you mean.
But that's just based off of that mechanic. Otherwise, I would go with like the Fire Temple or Shadow Temple from Ocarina of Time. I think they're pretty cool. Especially if they did them in a way... Like A Link Between Worlds brought back a lot of A Link to the Past dungeon and just did a variation of them. So if they could do something like that, that way it wouldn't be just the exact same dungeon, but it would still be like 90% of the same dungeon. Yeah, that's my thought. What about you guys?
I think that for me, it would either be the Forest Temple and Ocarina of Time. I don't know why, but I've always liked that one. I never get tired of playing it.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Oh, yes.
The other one that I was thinking was it the Snow Peak Ruins in Twilight Princess? I also really like that one.
That's also a really good one.
Yeah, I don't know. I love Snow Peak because it gave you like a little bit of like a creepy vibe to it. But I just thought it was really, really well done. I mean, creepy. I mean, obviously.
And you get
You're gonna love my next video. Just putting that out there. Those are both really good choices. Actually, those were both. I have like a short list. I'm like trying to filter through in my head, and those are both on it, so I won't use those. But those are both really, really good choices. Maybe the Spirit Temple from Ocarina of Time. That one is just a fantastic dungeon, but it would have to be tweaked because there's like the whole time travel mechanic in it. You have to go into Child Link and then it's Adult Link, right? So, but while I'm still using my brain on this, I'm just say, Takers, thank you for. They super chatted. Love to see temples in Breath of the Wild 2 using ceiling pass through. Oh, that like phasing mechanic.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, you know what? That would be actually really cool. That would be.
There's a few areas in Breath of the Wild that could have been used, but I can't think of many.
You know what would be a good one to see come back? The Ancient Cistern. That's my favorite dungeon in Skyward Sword. Fantastic dungeon.
Weren't there...
Really dungeon.
There was some mods where people took like what's the first fire temple in Skyward Sword? The Earth Temple?
Earth Temple.
They put the Earth Temple in Breath of the Wild. And then there was another Skyward Sword temple they put in Breath of the Wild. And they looked really interesting.
I saw our friend 𝗏𝗏𝗃 actually streamed playing through that mod, doing like the Earth Temple. And he was having a hard time because they had to tweak some of the obstacles to make them work in Breath of the Wild, for example, right? And I was thinking, like, I was like, oh, well, try climbing one of the walls so you could skip past this part. And they had removed the wall climbing in that temple. Sort of like how you can't climb the walls in shrines. And I was like, that's just very much a stone wall, though. Like it's just a rock face. Link should be able to. Right. But yeah, but like, seeing how it was implemented was really cool, actually, and I thought it looked really good in that. So yeah, I think and Skyward Sword overall has like pretty good dungeon design. I like to think, at least.
Link not being able to climb in the Divine Beasts or the shrines reminds me of the scenes in Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, where he just like gets really sad and he can't use his powers anymore.
Yeah.
Yes. It's just like that. Link gets a little sad every time he goes in a shrine.
Yeah.
That's why we need new dungeons.
Well, it probably smells really bad. There's no ventilation.
That's a good point. It's very stale air.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So
Chubes, tell us about that Stone Tower Temple.
No.
Why do you want that one so bad?
I already said no.
All I hear you talk about ever.
Because I'm stupid. I remember exactly how it went down. I spent like 2 streams doing the Stone Tower Temple because I couldn't find one stupid way to go. And sure enough, like I was playing and then I was like, oh, what's that? And I went in there and I'm like, wow, are you kidding me? This is where I was supposed to go the whole time. And I've just been walking in circles. No, it wasn't 2 streams, but I'm pretty sure I spent like 4 hours doing that dungeon.
Oh wow, that's a long time.
It was very sad.
It's almost heartbreaking because that is legitimately one of my favorite dungeons in all of Zelda.
In my defense, it was my first time actually playing through all of Majora's Mask.
It's fair. It's a long one. It's very long, especially the climb up the tower to get to the actual temple is a bit tedious.
Yes, that was very tedious. But I think like a big part for me is like, I don't know if you guys ever realized, but because we like grew up with playing Legend of Zelda, if you go back and play any of those games, like if you try to show someone a Legend of Zelda game for the first time, there's like no sense of direction. There's not a lot of hand holding a lot of the games, and it's kind of like oh, you have to go here, and oh, you have to go here, but you kind of just figure it out.
Yeah.
So I think like being so used to having these Zelda games memorized and then going into one never playing it before was really, really daunting.
Yeah, no doubt, and also streaming it as well as it. Because I find playing a game for the first time on stream is very different than just playing it on my own time. I don't really like doing blind playthroughs on that because it's like when you're streaming, you're focused on the technical aspect of things to make sure everything's running fine. You're focusing on the chat as well, and I almost feel like it's not as fun to not be able to give the game your full attention that way. And so, like, don't get me wrong, I love streaming. But the games I play on stream are almost always games I'm really familiar with. So. Yeah, Metroid Dread was one of the exceptions, but I had actually started another playthrough before I started streaming the game, even though it was brand new. So, yeah, even that.
Dedication.
Mm-hmm. Candy, also thank you for the super chat. She says Daniel has a guardian on his head. Did you put the baby egg on me?
Earlier,
what?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. 10 out of 10. That's my egg. That's my baby.
All right.
Thank you for the super chat, though.
Next
Candy,
question.
Much appreciated.
Do you guys have one picked out? And again, if you are in the live chat, you can post your questions, and it'll help if you tag one of us so that it stands out. We can see it as well. And thank you to the ones doing the super chat, asking questions.
Appreciate.
There's
you got something?
Two questions here that I think we could probably just mix into one. Although I don't see... I think there's Just Clark and Mystery Light. So Just Clark is basically asking, why do you think it's taking so long for the sequel to be made? Do you think they're just adding that much to it? Do you think it's the story taking that long? And Mystery Light also asks, if it's, or is it possible that the Breath of the Wild sequel is being held off partly due to possible plans for collectors or limited edition of the game. Games are a lot of work, and I think not only just that, but like the way that Nintendo has always structured their releases, they always want to make sure that one of their games is never overshadowing the other, because like we know that Zelda or like Nintendo is always one step ahead, right? Like they release a game, but they've basically already thought out what they want to do next, and they're always pretty good at that. So I think that them taking this long to do it is pretty intentional. But it could also be partly to, you know, the current state of the world right now. Everyone's been facing work shortages. It's probably been really hard to try and do this in a way that's confidential to Nintendo to prevent leaks, but also be mindful to, you know, what's been happening. Because it's not like you can be like, oh yeah, just work for home on this really, really secret project.
Sure. I think pandemic stuff probably, like here it's bad, but like in Japan they were hit, I feel, worse than maybe we were in North America, for the fact that like their population's so dense, right? And it set a lot of things in the industry back because of that. So I think that plays a part in it for sure. Otherwise I want to say it's just because they're adding that much stuff to it, because like when they initially talked about the game, they're like, oh, well, we had all the DLC, and then it was ideas to put the game's sequel. And you're like, cool, and okay, it's in the same Hyrule. Oh, and then we get that second trailer last year, and it was like, whoa, there's all these islands, there's completely different items, completely different outfits for Link. Like, everything is... There's some stuff that's the same, but like everything else is like so new looking. So like, I think it's a combination of those things. That they're really adding everything they can, because I think Nintendo's pretty good about listening to feedback too, when it comes to Zelda games. Like Skyward, like Twilight Princess came about because people didn't like the art style Wind Waker, so they made a game they basing it on that feedback, and then Breath of the Wild came out because people basically complained about Skyward Sword's linearity, so they made the most open video game, the least linear video game I've ever played. Aside from like maybe Zelda 1. And
Breath of the Wild, people complained about the rain.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Breath of the Wild players, one of their critiques, which I think is somewhat valid, is, they were like, okay, there's like, it's just too much emptiness, or there's a lot of spots that are like kind of pointless or empty. And I don't really agree, but but that's me. But I think enough people did complain about it, that they're just really trying to fill in as much as they can in that world, just to make every area have some nugget of something cool. That said, I do think Collector's Limited Edition is definitely like 100% going to happen. They always have like some kind of Collector's Edition for pretty much every Zelda game.
Yeah.
Even like the 3DS games got like special edition 3DSs.
Yeah.
I think all of them did. Even Triforce Heroes.
Did Triforce Heroes? I know A Link Between Worlds did. A Link Between Worlds got that Hylian Shield 3DS that was like unreasonably awesome.
Oh yeah, that one.
Like so good looking.
I think Triforce Heroes got the edgy Hylian symbol.
Did it?
Yeah, it was like a really cool Hylian crest symbol.
You want to hear a story about a special edition console?
Absolutely.
It's going to break your heart a little bit.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be worse than the time that I put my Switch in the wash.
it's close, like almost maybe on par with that. So when I was in high school, Phantom Hourglass was brand new, right? And so I'm just now everyone's going to know how old I am. and a girl that I was dating at the time had gotten a DS Lite. It was like the special edition DS Lite with Phantom Hourglass. So it was like the gold DS Lite, and it had like the Triforce on it and everything, really fancy. But she broke it because she kept losing the stylus. So she started just using like a pencil instead of the stylus, and she would play like too aggressively, and she broke it. And me being nice, I bought her a new DS, but I couldn't get a special edition one. It was just like a blue DS Lite, but anyways, it's still this is the same one that I never got my copy of Wind Waker on the GameCube back from when we broke up. But It still hurts me a little bit inside knowing like that special edition console is probably worth so much now, but it just totally got destroyed needlessly. Anyway, so F in the chat for that.
Goodness. So, do you have a question picked out, Burger?
Really quick, to answer that.
Yes.
One of the last questions. I don't think.
Oh yeah, you didn't say anything.
I don't think a limited edition version of a console or version of the game would cause any delay, because it's usually just like a different box art and maybe
that's true.
Maybe something else
and some things added into it.
Yeah. So that's all. You go, Daniel.
Yeah, I see timing as more of like an issue than like trying to time the release to not like Choops and not overshadow other releases and stuff. Yeah. More so than a collector's edition holding it back.
If it's delayed, it's Miyamoto running in and just like turning over everyone's tables and kicking their computers and being like, "What if we put a wolf in the game?"
Oh my god, please.
Yeah.
You found one, Daniel?
Let's see. You answered that one already, actually. Okay, this one's kind of a fun one. RuneWolf asked, question for the mailbag. What are your top 3 key items you want to see returned or expanded upon Breath of the Wild 2? And just as a ground rule, because I know we're all going to say it, I'm just going to say, let's take hookshot off the table for this question, because we would all say hookshot.
And so, other variations of the hookshot.
Yeah, so we're just saying no hookshot or hookshot variations, so no claw shot, etc. Switch hook, grappling hook. Yeah. Anyone care to go first? You both look so contemplative here.
Give me. So we talked about this a little bit earlier. The Rock's Feather.
Ooh.
Like a way. I imagine, because you can already jump, maybe it would be a way to like double jump or jump a bit further or higher.
Especially because I'm just going to assume we're not going to have revolve scaling. So that would work.
Yeah, maybe like, because we don't really know. If we don't have it, I imagine it would be a thing to when they passed on, they took their abilities with them, and that could be used to explain how Link starts with like 3 hearts all over again.
Well, because if you think about it, when you use the champion's abilities, the like ghost, the spirit of the champion, like shows up beside you when it happens, and actually is the one that performs it technically.
Yeah. So you're saying we need to go and murder the new champions.
Yes, kill them all so we can have their best.
And take their ghost powers.
That's how Kirby does it, except he eats them. So you know what that means. Having Rock's sirloin tonight. Sorry, no, but yeah, so I don't think we're gonna have those champion sequel. Right. Yeah, Rock's Feather's a good one. That's a good one.
So if not that, like just straight up like hover boots would be nice. I know that we have like the paraglider, which is all good and fine, but
they don't hover.
Be handy in some places, I think.
I want to say something like Pegasus boots or the bunny hood. Either of those, just because I'm always a fan of like things that increase mobility in games.
Bunny hood would be nice.
Bunny hood would be great because like the speed up buff is already a thing in Breath of the Wild. You can only do it through consumable stuff. Whereas most other buffs,
certain clothes do it.
Certain clothes do night speed up, but not just all around speed up. That's the thing. But like otherwise, if you just want regular speed up, you have to do an elixir or cook something for it, right? Whereas pretty much every other buff in the game you can get from an outfit. So yeah, I want something like that, bunny hood or something to that effect. Or Pegasus boots would make sense too for that. Maybe
they did the bunny hood. I also want to be like the mailman though.
Oh yeah.
Make it a whole set. Like the whole set.
That would be such a good set.
Hey, if we've got the Tinkle outfit, why not, right?
It's kind of like you said Tinkle and not Tingle.
The Tinkle outfit. Oh no.
Three's a lot, though. I don't know if I can think of 3.
So my thoughts are, they basically gave us almost everything from the previous Zelda games. Like, you had even, like, stuff like the big Goron sword and, like, the weird sword that the sages used to try to kill Ganondorf. And all these, like, obscure weapons that only show up for, like, 2 seconds. And there's all these costumes that are references to other games. And then you have stuff like the Pegasus boots, which are really popular, or the hover boots, which are also really popular. And for some odd reason, they're not in the game. And I think it's more of a, we could put it in the game with everything else, or we could hold it back. That way we have at least something new to give for clothing in the next game. So I think it was like that. Like, the whole underwater exploration thing I said a long time ago, I think maybe it was in the game. And then they were like, well, if we just put absolutely everything in the game, then we'll have nowhere to go with the next game. So let's just put what we need to, and then keep some ideas for later on. And then that's why there's not underwater exploration, despite this game having more water than any other Zelda game.
True. Just a thought. Games of More Moonlight in the chat says ball and chain. And considering we were just talking about Snow Peak Ruins a minute ago, I can't believe I didn't think of that. Especially because I'm like elbow deep in editing a video about Snow Peak Ruins. So, ball and chain is a great item.
Yeah,
that would be freaking awesome.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, that's a great item.
You could use it to obviously bust boulders and stuff. But I wonder if there would be a cool way you can make it work with if we still have the rune ability, the magnesis.
Imagine using that though to like fight a stone talus. Like you swing the ball and chain at him, and it just like plows, like just like takes one of its arms clean off.
That'd be great.
It'd be so awesome.
What if, since we can't say hook shot, what if we could manipulate it to act like a hook shot? Like you throw it so hard, like Thor with his hammer, but then like the spikes on the ball and chain just hits the stone talus and sticks to him. Yeah. So then, and you get dragged with it. So.
Oh my goodness.
There is your not hook shot.
Innovative.
Yeah.
Someone else in the chat says mirror shield, and that's another good one because
Yeah.
there's a lot of shield options in it, but mirror shield would be
nice.
Really cool. Would be really cool, and it's particularly is it Link's Awakening where the mirror shield actually deflects like projectiles, whereas most like A Link to the Past it doesn't even. I don't know why it's called the mirror shield. And Ocarina of Time it only does in like really limited, like only in the boss fight, and that's it. But yeah, I think it is Link's Awakening where it'll even deflect everything. So make it something like that, like just
Is it called the magic shield in one of the games?
Nope, there is a magic shield in Zelda, but it's really just a big version of the shield, and it doesn't deflect anything. It's just a big shield.
Big shield.
The other,
just big shield.
The last weapon for me is the fishing pole.
I should have known that you were gonna say.
You don't need a fishing pool or a fishing pond. You can just bomb the fish like a regular human.
Yeah.
Well,
or shock arrow.
I have to say that it was in the chat earlier, and on our Discord there was someone who mentioned the fishing pole, and I was like, yeah, like they added 2 fishing poles or fishing ponds that weren't even in Majora's Mask, and Breath of the Wild has all this water and all these fish. One of your first missions is literally to catch a fish so you can make food for the old dead guy, and there's not a single fishing pole, even though there's sticks and branches and things you could. It's just so weird.
It'd be cool if you could craft one. Like you gather, there's like tree branches, for example. You gather some up, you can make a fishing pole.
Yeah, but it's like as much as Nintendo likes to put
great
fishing stuff in Zelda games. Like Twilight Princess had a big focus on fishing because that fishing pond segment in it was meant for Wind Waker, but the guy worked on it so long it wasn't ready for Wind Waker, so they just converted it to Wind Waker 2, and that's why it has like a really huge like fishing canoe area.
That's really funny.
Yeah, and where was that guy at when they were working on Breath of the Wild? Because I want my fishing pole.
He's the same thing. He was working on a fishing mechanic game for Breath of the Wild. And it was so intense. It was so good of a game that it wasn't ready for 2017.
No, it was.
That's
ready.
actually they delayed
ready.
it.
We weren't ready.
We weren't ready.
It was.
They kept delaying the game so that just to prepare us for the fishing. But they were like, okay, 2 years is enough. We gotta gotta put this game.
The Wii U just wasn't powerful enough to handle the fishing pole.
Oh no!
No. So what was Is it your turn, Daniel?
That was the question I just picked. So
okay, back to me then.
Yeah.
All right.
We all collectively just answered that question together.
All right, we'll do this, and then Choobs, can you pick the last one? So,
okay.
Bree says, "What roles do you think the new champions, so Sidon, Riju, etc., will have in Breath of the Wild 2 if they make a return? Which 99.9% chance they will." I think they'll be there. I think they'll be...
Mm-hmm.
So... I don't think they'll be as big of a part of the story as they were in the first, but I do think they will still be important, and it'll be more of, instead of trying to overcome the calamity or feeling bad about not being able to help protect their older, not siblings, because some of them, they're like the mother or the father or whatever, but some of them, I don't think they're related.
Yeah, well, like I don't think 𝗵𝗲 is actually related to Rivali, because I don't think Rivali ever had children.
Yeah, like Yunobo and Daruk are like grandfather, grandson, or whatever.
Yeah, that's confirmed.
Yeah, and then Mipha and Sidon are brother, sister.
Mm-hmm.
What about the Gerudo women?
With Riju, it's unclear.
Yeah.
It's a bit ambiguous. Like
I assume
she never directly says it, but she also says that she like inherited the mother.
Yeah.
Like Riju inherited the throne from her mother, so we know that it's like a lineage throne.
Yeah. So.
But we also don't know if Urbosa ever actually had kids. So.
I think.
Who knows?
Their story will be along the lines of trying to. Each of them will just basically be focused on trying to restore their village or community or whatever.
Yeah.
And that'll be it. Like, now that theoretically the Gerudo don't have to worry about a giant camel shooting lightning out of its butt at everyone that comes near it, they can actually go and do stuff. And the same with the Gorons and everyone, which Yunobo was already kind of trying to help people when you meet him anyways, because he's trying to get the medicine to help with the older Goron. So I think it'll be just their stories of how now they're trying to take over that leader position, whereas before they were still dealing with the loss, and now they're moving on. Especially, which it may not, but if it does connect to Age of Calamity, then maybe that whole time travel thing, like they got their second chance at saving the older champions. So maybe that was enough for them to do it. And that's even if it does connect at all, which we don't know.
Yeah. I don't think it will, but also we got a super chat from Candy. Thank you, Candy, for the super chat. She does have a blessed evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yay, thanks, Candy.
Appreciate.
I like the emojis. What about you, Daniel? What do you think?
I mean, they've got to be. I really do feel like they'll be in the sequel. it's in the same Hyrule. Like, where would they be then? You know, like they were not just gonna poof into thin air. And Nintendo's put a lot of work into like fleshing out these characters and everything already. I don't know. It just feels like it would be weird not to have them. Yeah. But as for like what role they play, I mean, what you said really makes sense. You know, they'll play like kind of that same leadership role within their respective tribes. But like aside from that, it's hard to say because we don't know what the story is really going to be about. So without knowing more about the story, it's hard to say like what role they're going to play in that story, if that makes sense. So, but I could see them being involved with at least like maybe leading you to like dungeon entrances, like that. Mm-hmm. Sort of like how in, say, Ocarina of Time, to get to the Fire Temple, you've got to talk to the Goron Link, or you know, you have to talk to Darunia before going to Dodongo's Cavern, that kind of thing, right? So they'll be like involved with maybe getting you to dungeons, mm-hmm. but that's probably about it, because I think those dungeons are still going to be, again, I'm really, really invested in the idea of them actually bringing back those, but I think they're going to still be like those solitary experiences inside the dungeon, which is better. I think the more isolating feeling in the dungeons, I think the better.
So, with the dungeons, I took a screenshot on my phone. I'll send it to you later. But I found an interview. I was looking for other stuff, but it was 𝗷𝗵𝗲 talking about dungeons, and he confirmed that the dungeons were going to be different from what we got in Breath of the Wild, but he wouldn't say how. And he said, I don't know, it was weird. I'll send it to you later, but I don't want to go on another rant talking about it. I thought about making a video talking about it, so I'll save it for that. But yeah, the dungeons, we can expect at least something different, which obviously I don't think they're going to reuse all the same shrines again. There's no point in that. Do you think the actual champions will have another appearance, whether it's a memory or a ghost?
No, I don't think so. I think we're done with the champions, to be honest.
Sad.
I love those characters.
Yeah. Well, Age of Calamity was like all about them. The Breath of the Wild DLC was all about them and named after them. They're getting their own first 4 figures line of statues. So yeah, I would say they got their send off.
They even got amiibos. I mean, that's a big deal. All of Skyward Sword and all of Skyward Sword, we got one amiibo, and that's Zelda herself, big burb.
My question to add to this is: 𝗏𝗵𝗲 still going to be rude?
𝗏𝗏 was never really rude, though. It's Revali that's rude.
Yeah, Revali's the jerk.
Yeah, I know Revali is, but 𝗏𝗏, when you first meet 𝗏𝗏, he seemed like kind of
he's like standoffish.
Yeah,
he's standoffish, but then like once you actually like start talking, he's like, "Oh, you're not here to talk me out of this fight. You're gonna come fight with me." And then you're like BFFs. You're good. It's I think 𝗏𝗏 is one of like the most underrated characters in Breath of the Wild. Honestly,
you know what it is? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not 𝗏𝗏 or Revali. Maybe I'm just intimidated by Sean instead.
Okay, I see where it is.
Yeah, that has to be it.
Oh, yeah.
Geek, what are your thoughts? How are we?
Geek? Who's Geek? What you talking about?
I am stupid. Forgive me.
Sorry, I went to look for the question that you were asking, and then I realized that the Google Doc was an absolute nightmare. What question did you ask?
It was
I think it was
the role of the new champions. Do we think they're going to be in the game? What role do we think they're going to have?
But actually, just to halt things for a moment, we actually have 2 super chats. One's from Taker again. Thank you so much. Taker's the king of super chats. They said 𝗟𝗏𝗃 married Bolson. He's quite old, you see. And as hilarious as that is, honestly, good for Bolson. Good for him.
Wait, is that canon? What?
That's not canon. He's just joking.
Oh, because we were talking about him getting a wife last episode. We were talking about him getting a wife.
Yeah. Also, we got a super chat, $5 from Viram, who says, "Hello, Hylians. How come there aren't ever any restaurants in Zelda games like Dodongo's Bistro or Ganon's Grounds Coffee?"
That's a great question.
Good question.
And I want that.
I do want like a restaurant they can just go and sit down in and have a cup of coffee and
yeah.
I don't know, like I'm down for that. There really isn't, yeah.
The closest we get, Majora's Mask.
Bar.
Yeah, Majora's Mask has the milk bar, 𝗏𝗺's bar, and Twilight Princess, and then there's random.
There's also the Lumpy Pumpkin and Skyward Sword.
Yeah, random places in Breath of the Wild, like the different.
I guess like the stables.
Yeah, the different stables with the grills in the front. But it's like
that's it.
They don't cook for you.
They don't cook for you. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Even those places like 𝗏𝗺's bar.
They need hibachi.
You can't actually. You just go there to look at the map and be told where to go next. You don't actually like get to have a drink there or something, right?
Or to save.
So yeah, the milk bar. What you were gonna say, the milk bar. That's the best example because you can actually go and buy milk. So. That's the closest we got is milk.
they get drunk off milk.
They do. That's Canada. That happens in Majora's Mask. The guy Gorman, he actually gets tipsy.
Yeah.
Off milk.
Why do you think it makes you believe you have infinite magic power?
Milk and vodka.
That infinite magic power is actually just sheer confidence from you having
it, and Link's just instantly like, I feel like I could shoot lasers from my sword.
Yeah. The true infinite magic was inside you all along.
Okay, do you think if I put this bunny hat on, I can run faster?
Oh,
sit down, Link. You're drunk.
Yeah.
Tubes. I apologize.
Google Doc?
No, for the geek, for saying geek.
Oh.
What?
Do you have a question?
For
the other thing instead, though.
No, all those questions came from a couple weeks ago. I did the $50 eShop card giveaway, and that was I picked one of the winners from the questions. That way, because sometimes we get people that like don't ask questions during the mailbag, and then like right before we get off, there's like 5 questions we answer real quick. So I was like, this will be a good way to pick out all the like have good, just like a full list of good questions. Some of them are good. I don't know. There's one in there Daniel asked about himself.
What?
Something about you making fun of Greg all the time being dead?
Yeah, you've seen it.
That question.
Wonderful. No, but do you have the final question, Geek?
You did it again!
He's doing it on purpose now.
Oh,
that really wasn't on purpose. I think my brain's just dead.
Your brain's just like, please let me sleep. I saw a lot of questions in here, actually, as I was going through the mailbag. Let me see if I can find it specifically. But it was talking about this being, like, the final game, like the sequel to maybe, like, phase out Ganon and find a new bad guy. And I thought that was a little bit out there. That's like saying Bowser's not a bad guy anymore.
Well, have you played Mario Tennis?
Excuse you. Just like, I gotta find it.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi.
How's the new kitty cat?
So good. She's a real hunter, though. She gets the intense zoomies at really strange times. So
yeah, it does like that too.
No, it's good though. It's good.
Question for you, Daniel. Chris in chat, do you think Ganon is vegan?
I saw that question. No, he's he probably enjoys the thrill of you know, like the feeling of domination that comes from killing and consuming an animal.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Justin in the chat says, Chub hasn't been on in a couple of weeks. He's used to Geek being
on. It's true.
I have an incredibly busy life. I'm kind of sorting things out a little. I've just like taken a step back from everything. Believe it or not, I've streamed 3 times this week.
Yeah,
it's unusual.
This is true.
This is freaking weird.
Okay, I can't find this question. I've lost it.
Sad.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
JBot1122 asks, here's my question. Do you think Breath of the Wild 2 could be the true end of the Ganon? Or true end of Ganon? This sounds unlikely, but Breath of the Wild 2 will probably continue the shift in Zelda that its predecessor started. Could a new main villain be introduced after this game? And that's the one that I was looking at that I was like, I can't imagine them getting rid of Ganon. Like, I can see them, continuing to pull more pawns in that would work on behalf of Ganon. And maybe if they did phase out Ganon, they'd still be people that maybe have gotten powers from Ganon, or people that still worship Ganon.
So you think it's something like Zant, even, who kind of had gained power from Ganondorf, but then Ganon, he's still really the bad guy, like the big bad.
Yeah, I can't see Ganon just being like gone forever. Jesse, what are your thoughts?
I feel the same way, to where even if they do like kill him off, it's like, well, he was like stabbed in the face in Wind Waker. He was stabbed in the face at the end of Ocarina of Time, and then sealed, and then stabbed in the chest, and then he does that weird thing with Zant's neck at the end of Twilight Princess that I'm confused about. So it's like he's died or been sealed all those different times, and he comes back anyways. Because even if they do permanently kill him, they have a big golden magic thing where you could just be like, I wish he came back, and then he comes back. So I don't think he'll ever be gone. And even if they did kill him off in this game permanently, and they like signed a legal document saying they could never put him in a game that takes place after Breath of the Wild, then they still have plenty of other games that they could make that takes place like between Twilight Princess and another game, where they could have Ganondorf again, and it just not be after Breath of the Wild, but somewhere else in the timeline. So yeah, there's different ways they could go with it, but I don't think they're going to kill him off with it. I think we'll just see a pattern of what we had before, where like we have the bad guy that looks like the opposite of Ganon, where instead of a big, strong, muscular, giant person, it's like a smaller, more feminine, skinny, flamboyant Zant, Ghirahim, Yuga in A Link Between Worlds.
I was thinking about Yuga.
I think it'll be more of that.
Well. Yeah, and even A Link Between Worlds found a way to bring Ganon in by having like them fuse in that weird way, right? Even though Yuga's like the villain, they still like brought Ganon in for all the fan service or whatever. But
and then even Demise was just like a skin swapped Ganon. Because it's Ganon a little bit crispy with flaming hair.
Crispy.
Yeah, but I agree. I'm aligned with all of that for sure, with both of what you said, because I just feel like he's so integrated into the DNA of the series,
Yeah.
And like there will be other villains, I have no doubt. We've had other villains. We've had like Bellum and Majora's Mask and Ghirahim with Demise, and so it's not unlikely to have other villains. Way, I just don't think that they'll kill off Ganon forever either. If that makes sense. So yeah, but I think I mean like I would love to see some other villains sort of pop up or make like a not a guest appearance, but like kind of like that, like just have some new creative villains, even if they're just a or Ganon or just a pawn of his or something, right?
A situation I would love to see, because it's not a twist anymore because they've done it so many times, but like in Twilight Princess we had Zant, and then it turns out he was just a puppet for Ganondorf, and then we had Ghirahim acting for Demise. So it's not really a twist anymore, but I would like to see something to where, like, maybe you have that relationship where it's like the smaller bad guy and then Ganondorf, but then someone else who we didn't know was a bad guy or we thought was a weaker bad guy ends up having the power from whatever magical item that's in the game, like the fused shadows in Twilight Princess or whatever will be in the new game, and then he uses that to somehow steal the power from Ganondorf and just adds it to the power that he already has. So it's like a double twist. I think that would be cool, because then it's like,
yeah, or like I was thinking a couple ways they could even go about it if they brought in another villain but still wanted Ganon. Hyrule Warriors, the first Hyrule Warriors, had I think a pretty good approach to that, where they had Sia as sort of their main villain, and then Sia like intentionally resurrected Ganon to like steal the Triforce from him, but then it totally backfires on her because he just like totally OP. He has the Triforce, he's OP, so it totally backfires on her, and he's like, nope, actually, and then he goes on his own crusade there, and so then you've kind of got two villains at odds with each other, and end up having to kind of take both down. I thought that was actually, like, say what you will about Hyrule Warriors on the Wii U, but I thought that particular part of the story was pretty good. But
also, that was kind of like Astor in Age of Clams, where
getting eaten.
Yeah, like Ganondorf is just like, well, you're useless, and then
you've outlived your purpose. So
Astor was another one that was like the flamboyant, cool, kind of smaller bad guy.
Yeah, but I was thinking about Zant as well. As like, I remember back in the day when, like playing through the game for the first time, I was almost like disappointed. I was like, oh, it's just Ganondorf again. It felt like a cop out. But in hindsight, thinking about it, I actually really like how Twilight Princess characterizes Ganondorf in that game. He's like a total like warlord Ganondorf, which is like a great contrast to his sort of beaten old man Ganondorf that we see in Wind Waker. So it's almost like how could this character turn out differently based on the timeline split, and his different experiences between these two timelines, right? But I was thinking Twilight Princess handles it pretty well as playing with that plot twist goes, because it's not that far in. It's only about halfway into the game where you actually learn, like, a character in play in the story here. Spoilers for a game that came out in 15 years ago, but just spoiler warning. Ganondorf's in a Zelda game. Spoilers. But I just think that the way, like with the sages, that whole plot twist plays out, in hindsight, I actually think I've grown to really appreciate it, and how well the game characterizes Ganondorf, and a lot of people talk about Wind Waker Ganondorf as being like a really compelling villain. And I really do think it's an interesting take on character, but there's something about Ganondorf's absolute ruthlessness in Twilight Princess. Like, he's this absolute cutthroat, Ganondorf's in a Zelda game, hungry for power, savage Ganondorf. And I really do like that characterization for him. So I just really want, I like the idea of him having a little pawn that's at play, but as soon as the pawn purpose might cast them aside and come into the foreground as this powerhouse of a villain,
He squeezes the water sage so hard she explodes.
Yeah, that's how badly his execution went. I was thinking about the sage dying in Twilight Princess, right? I had a theory that it was actually the reason the sages look that way is because they're in the Chamber of Sages in the Sacred Realm, and those sages that we see are them projecting themselves into the physical world, into Hyrule, right? And so it goes to show how powerful Ganondorf is there, that he can punch the water sage to death through its projection like that. Again, this is just me spitballing theory stuff out there, but I think he's a very ruthless villain in that game. It's great. It's good
and
stuff.
That's after he's already been in prison for who knows how long.
Imprisoned and impaled. Yeah. Yeah. Great. It's good times. Sorry, I'm done ranting though.
No, you're good. I mean, it wasn't a Majora's Mask 3D rant, so we're all good.
True. It was a rant of appreciation.
Is that everything?
Complaining.
𝗏𝗵𝗃, do you have anything to add?
Nothing. I'm ready to go have a cup of tea. I'm feeling the Earl Grey right now.
Daniel renamed Age of Clams to Clams and Tea.
Yeah. So. You got that aging clam and tea.
Really gross. Daniel, you're banned from tea and clams. Don't touch either of them.
Okay, I doubt it. So what are aging clams in tea?
No,
like
that's
a tea bag.
Just have
clam
Isn't
flavored
that technically
tea.
Clam chowder?
That is clam. Can we just call the game clam chowder from now on?
People already get infuriated that I say clams all the time. They think I say. Does it sound like I say clams?
No.
No,
it sounds like you're saying clams.
Okay. Because people are like, why do you say CALAMS? And I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. Do you know what a clam is?
Definitely saying clams. Like, the little...
Yeah.
Okay.
we all start
both clams, clam.
Anyways, this was meant to be a shorter podcast while we didn't have the Triforce trivia, and we tried to make it go on pretty fast. Next week we'll try to have the bingo prediction things that we went through, which... Do you remember how well 𝗏𝗵𝗃 did on hers? We read hers off from last week. Do you remember what it was?
Oh, from last, like her 2021 prediction?
Yeah. That we read off last
Yeah,
week.
so...
64 emulator, and that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 100%.
High five, 𝗏𝗵𝗃.
I would say, like, of our prediction thread, we got, like, 80%, 85% of that stuff correct.
I really let the team down. I'll do better next time.
We give you the half points.
So yeah, we'll do that. I'll have the PNG for like the bingo card thing if I can find a cool one, and everyone can play along. We'll read off ours, and if we see your guys' post in the chat, we'll read them as well. And then remember, on the 24th, Smash Bros with Sean, and the 27th is Smash Bros with Joe. 𝗏𝗵𝗃 and a few other people are sometime as well. I don't have a date for them, but there's been a bunch of people that said they'd like to come on and do it. Even out of nowhere, the vice president of the marketing for Nintendo said he was up for a live stream as well. So that'll be really fun.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, 𝗏𝗵𝗃. Where can people find you if they want to watch more of
you getting impregnated in The Sims?
Yes.
Me and my sim journey. I will not explain my sim journey on Jesse's stream for the sake of keeping it PG. I'm sorry. But yeah, you can come find me on Twitter at 𝗏𝗵𝗃. I find that I'm pretty active on there. And you can also come hang out with me. I have been streaming a little bit more lately, just kind of more of like what I want to be streaming and less of what you guys want me to be streaming. So sorry about that, but I'm having fun. So you can come find me at twitch.tv/𝗏𝗵𝗃 with an extra A because I can't get that resolved yet. And I also post all of my, I try to post all of my VODs on YouTube. Then you can also come find me at YouTube at 𝗏𝗏𝗃, and they should have my first Sims VOD going up shortly, but it's like 5 hours long, so I apologize in advance.
Daniel, I think it's your turn.
What? My turn?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks. I'm Daniel. You can find all my socials, everything. Glenn, as in, oh look, there's the captain. No, Burger. Yep, that's my dad. And yes, I also stream, usually twice, but sometimes 3 times a week, but usually twice. Every Wednesday is Breath of the Wild Wednesday, as in Link has bad breath Wednesday. And you will never guess what game we stream on those days. You'll never figure it out. But no, we have a good time. We do have a good old time. And then Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, I stream other games that are not necessarily Zelda games. Actually, this Saturday, we're going to be launching into a new save file of Metroid Prime 3, which I've been really looking forward to because we just finished the other 2 Prime games, and they're really fun. So Metroid's fun. Otherwise, keep an eye out for my channel. I've got some great videos coming up, mostly looking at Twilight Princess and its dungeons and things like that. We just had a video go out the other week with 𝗵𝗃 on my channel. We're looking at Arbiter's Grounds and Twilight Princess. And probably next week, if I finish it in time, we'll be looking at Snow Peak Ruins in Twilight Princess. And I also have a collab. It's a secret collab. Surprise collab for that one. So look forward to that, everybody. I really hope. I really think it's going to be like just the editing and stuff I've done so far. I'm like, this really might be one of my best videos. Yeah, it's like, I don't just say that. I'm just like really happy with how it's turning out. So between that one with 𝗵𝗃 and then this upcoming one, I feel like I'm starting the year off pretty on a pretty high note. So yeah, go check that out. If Zelda content sounds like a fun time to you, if Zelda content doesn't sound like fun, why are you here already? So that's my question.
It's a good question.
But Jesse, what about you?
I'm doing okay, thanks.
Oh, good. Where can people find you, Jesse? Tell us about you, Jesse.
Well, Daniel doesn't let me see the street address or anything. He thinks I'm going to report him to the FBI or something. But if you do want to watch the videos, you're already here. So everything is at 𝗵𝗃, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, everything. So, yeah, the best way to stay up to date, though, and to give some help on videos when I ask questions is if you're following on Twitter or on Discord. Sometimes I'll ask random questions that may or may not have to do with videos and then kind of use that to decide stuff on. So yeah, you can be part of that. It's really fun. Daniel's there sometimes when he's not chasing birds or whatever he does. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful night, and go give Daniel and Chubes a follow. I posted their links in the description, but they're also... No, I posted in the live chat, but they're also in the description below. And yeah, have a great night.
And thank you to Jesse for hosting us on this podcast for 150 episodes of listening to us talk about video games. That's incredible. That's a crazy milestone.
We forgot to mention that.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you for bringing us together, Jesse. I love you.
Road to 200. Let's go.
Let's go. 50 more episodes.